Hey lovelies, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for stopping by again. And if this is your first time on the channel, you're definitely welcome. Do well to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my content. Now in today's video, I'm going to be sharing something super important, especially for beginner tailors. You know how sometimes after measuring a client, you realize you forgot to take a specific measurement, or maybe your client isn't around and you're working with limited data. It happens to the best of us, maybe because of rush, distance, or just a simple oversight. But here's the good news. There are formulas and calculations that can help you accurately estimate those missing measurements. And that's exactly what I will be teaching you today. So stay tuned and watch till the end. And without further ado, let's dive in. And the first measurement that we are going to be dealing with is the armhole depth, and it's also called the chest line. All right, in a situation where you forgot to measure the armhole depth or the chest line of your client, all right, I'm going to be showing you the simple formula to get your chest line, and this is very easy. All right, and the formula is shoulder divided by 2. So take for instance, if your shoulder is 14, all right, and the next thing you are going to do is just to go ahead and divide it by 2, and this is going to give us 7, and that means that our chest line is 7 inches. All right, if your shoulder is 15, you are going to do the same thing, divided by 2 to get your chest line. And right here I have a basic bodies drafted here, all right, and this is the chest line. Okay, this straight line here, that is where we measured this 7 inches. And whatever value you got from your calculation, remember that you are going to first of all come down from the shoulder by 1 inch here, all right, in order to create the shoulder slant, because our shoulder is not straight. Okay, and after doing that, that is when you are going to measure whatever value you got from your calculation, which is 7 inches in our case. All right, and that is how to go about getting the chest line. And before I proceed, I'll just go ahead and label the other part from the bust point here to the underbust here, and also the waistline, and here we have the hip line. And the next calculation or formula we're going to treat is on how to get the shoulder in a situation where you don't have the data for the shoulder measurement. All right, here's the formula to use, and the formula is bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So take for instance, you are using the bust circumference of 40 inches. All right, the next thing to do is to divide it by 6, and that is going to give us around 6.66. Okay, and we are going to plus 1.5 inches to this value, and that is going to give us around 8.16, and that is approximately 8 inches. So for this person using a bust of 40 inches, our shoulder measurement is 8 inches. And the next calculation is on how to get the bust point. All right, that is from the shoulder to the nipple. And the formula is bust circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch. And for example, if you are using a bust of 40 inches, you are going to divide that by 4, and that is going to give us the value of 10. Then we are going to plus 1 inch to the value, all right, and that is going to give us 11 inches. And 11 inches is the shoulder to nipple, or what we call the bust point of this person. Okay, and the next important formula that you should know is the bust span. All right, it is also popularly called nipple to nipple measurement. Okay, and the formula to get this is the bust circumference. Again, you'll notice that we use the bust circumference a lot. All right, bust circumference divided by 8 and minus 1. Okay, and take for instance, we're using the bust circumference of 40 divided by 8. That is going to give us 5 inches. Then we're going to minus 1 from this value of 5 inches. Okay, and 5 inches minus 1 is going to give us 4 inches. All right, and the bust span or the nipple to nipple measurement of this person is actually 4 inches. And to indicate the bust span on the pattern paper, remember that we got 4 inches for this person. All right, meaning that we are going to come to our pattern paper here, and we are going to come to the bust point. Okay, and we are going to indicate 4 inches all the way down. Then we're just going to go ahead and connect all the points together. And right there, we have just indicated our nipple to nipple or the bust span. And right now, the next formula is on how to get your bust cup size. This is a very popular question that I get asked a lot, all right? And the formula is your bust circumference minus your under bust circumference divided by 2. And let's take, for instance, again, a client with a bust circumference of 40 inches and the under bust of 34 inches, all right? And we're going to divide that by 2, all right? 40 minus 34 is going to give us 6 inches. Divided by 2, that is going to give us 3 inches. And in order to indicate on the pattern, okay, I'm going to come to this our existing pattern paper, and I'm going to come to the under bust line here, okay, and right here we are going to go ahead and indicate 1 inch on this part. You see this 1 inch, it is constant for all. All right, so don't forget that the value we got earlier is actually 3 inches, and we've already used 1 inch out of that 3 inches and remaining 2 inches. So that remaining 2 inches, we are going to put it on the other side here. And right here, that is how to go about distributing the cup size, all right? For instance, if you are using a bust of 36 and an under bust of 32, all right, we're also going to divide that by 2, okay, and this is going to give us 4 inches. 36 minus 32 is 4 inches divided by 2, that is going to give us 2 inches, all right, meaning that if you are going to distribute yours, 1 inch is going to be at this constant side, like I said, and the remaining 1 inch will be at this other side. So whatever value you get, just put 1 inch on the constant side and the remaining value you are going to put on the other side. I hope you understand that. All right, so having done that, the next thing to do is to come to the bust point and come down by half an inch, or you can do 1 inch. I did half an inch here, all right, and the next thing to do is just to go ahead and use our curve ruler to create the curve, all right, and we're also going to repeat the same thing on the other side here. And then we're just going to come to this side and take the value that we have on each side all the way down, then connect it together on a straight line like so. And don't forget that whatever that we have taken, we are also going to return back, okay? And to explain further, after distributing the dart, we are going to just go ahead and get the midpoint of our armhole, all right? We are going to measure this curvy part of the armhole and get the midpoint, all right? This is in the case where we are making a princess dart, all right? And from there, we are just going to go ahead now from the midpoint of the armhole and connect to the bust line, all right? This should be familiar by now, all right? That is if you are making a princess dart, all right? And if you are making a shoulder dart, it is just to go ahead and connect to the center of our shoulder like so, okay? And in a case where you don't want any of those darts, where we are making a neck dart, all right, we are just going to be connecting right from this part here to the neck line in order to create the neck dart. So whichever one you're making, that is just how to go about it. All right, so guys, before I move further, right, you know we are created differently and in different shapes, okay? So in a case where the bust circumference and the under bust circumference, where the difference is so minute, okay, you might have a value that is very small and you might be confused on how to share it. Take for instance someone with a bust circumference of 50 inches and the under bust circumference of 48 inches, all right, and she's also going to divide it by 2, okay? So 50 minus 48 is going to give you 2 inches, and you're going to divide that 2 inches by 2, and that is going to give you 1. So you might be wondering how to go about the distributing this, all right? So in this case, what you are going to do is to boost this person's bust size, all right? And in this case, you are just going to go ahead and add 2 inches to whatever value you got, all right? In a case where the value is so small, okay, you are going to add 2 inches to give you 3 inches, okay? So that is how to go about that. And additionally, guys, when you are in the market to buy your bust cup, all right, this calculation is also going to help. For this person using a bust of 40 and underbust of 34, the answer we got is 6 before we divided it, right? So if you are going to buy a cup, you are going to go ahead and buy cup size 6, all right, for this person. All right, and the next important formula to know is actually the sleeve cap height. And the formula to get this is the bust circumference divided by 12 plus 1 inch. For instance, the bust circumference of 36 divided by 12 is going to give us 3 inches. All right, and we are going to add 1 inch to this value, and that is going to give us 4 inches, meaning that this person's sleeve cap height is actually 4 inches. And to illustrate a bit, assuming that this is our pattern paper, all right, and the next thing we need to do is to get the sleeve cap height. So I'll just indicate here, let's assume that this is the sleeve cap height, all right, which is the 4 inches we got here. All right, I'll just indicate 4 inches here. All right, so on this sleeve cap height, that is where we are going to measure our armhole divided by 2. All right, and I just indicated that there, and then we'll just go ahead and link it up to the top of the sleeve like so. All right, and having done that, we usually get the midpoint. Then we are going to create our curve that looks like an inverted S like so. All right, and having done that, the next thing to do is just to measure the rest of the sleeve, all right, in order to create our sleeve. I hope this is understandable though. All right, so this is what we need the sleeve cap height for. All right, and this formula is going to give you the accurate calculation to get that. And right now, the next important formula is actually the off shoulder neckline width, all right, and the formula for this is actually the bust span, all right, which is the nipple to nipple, all right, plus 1 inch. Okay, and in this case, let's say the nipple to nipple is actually 4 inches, and we're going to add 1 inch to that to give us the value of 5 inches. So right here, guys, this value of 5 inches is when the pattern is on fold, all right, and that means that when this off shoulder top is open, the neckline is going to be 10 inches. All right, that means 5 inches on this side and 5 inches on the other side. And to illustrate further for clarity, assuming this is our pattern paper and that it's on fold, all right, and right here, this line here is our bust point, this right here is our waistline. All right, I'll just indicate bust point, waistline, and here the hip line. All right, okay, so at the top here, we've already removed what we wanted off the blouse since it's an off shoulder, right? And right here, we are going to come inward by 5 inches, which is for the neckline. And right here on the bust point, we are going to put our bust circumference divided by 4, right? And we are just going to go ahead and link the neckline there, the off shoulder neckline, to the bust point, all right, and that is going to create our armhole. Then from the bust to the waist, and from the waist to the blouse length, all right, and here we have our off shoulder blouse. Right here on the neckline, if you don't want it straight, all right, where we have the 5 inches, right, if you don't want it straight, you can just go ahead and come down by half an inch. Then we're going to slant it, all right, and that is just how to go about the off shoulder neckline width. Another important calculation that you should know is actually the off shoulder sleeve formula, all right, and the formula is round shoulder minus round neckline divided by 4, and the round neckline here is the off shoulder neckline width that we just calculated earlier on. And for example, the round shoulder here, let's use 40, and for the neckline we got 5 inches from our calculation earlier on. And this 5 inches that we got from our calculation is for when the pattern is on fold. Let's assume that this is just the front piece, all right, and when it is open we have 10 inches. So if you have 10 inches for the front piece, meaning that the back is also 10 inches, and that is going to give us 20 inches for both the front and the back neckline, all right. And so here the neckline is 20 inches, all right, so divided by 4, and 40 minus 20 is going to give us 20, and divided by 4 we're going to have 5 inches. Okay, and that means each of the sleeve is going to be 5 inches on fold. And the next formula is the crotch depth, all right? And to get the crotch depth, the formula is really simple, and that is hip divided by 4. And for example, for hip 40 divided by 4, that is going to give us 10 inches. All right. So for this person, the crotch length is going to be 10 inches. All right. And there are also other people who put their trouser lower than their natural waist. All right. They like it lower. All right. So for lower fitting trousers like that, the formula is hip divided by 4 minus 1 inch. All right. And for example, hip 40 divided by 4 is going to give us 10 inches, and minus 1, that is going to give us 9 inches. All right. And another formula that I always find very helpful is the crotch extension formula. And for a fitted trouser, I always use hip divided by 20. And for someone using hip size 44, divided by 20 is going to give you 2.2, all right? And this is going to be the crotch extension value for this hip size, all right? And for other trousers that are not fitted, all right, where you want ease, okay, I always use hip divided by 16 instead, all right? Take for instance, for a client using hip size 40, all right, divided by 16, we are going to get the value of 2.5, okay? And that is what we are going to use for the crotch extension, especially for a free trouser. And also in the situation where you don't have data for the underbust length, all right, or where you forgot to measure from the shoulder to the underbust length, all right, there's also a way out for that, all right? And this is just to go ahead and add 4 inches to the bust point. For example, if your shoulder to bust is 11, we're going to add 4 to that, and that is going to give us 15 inches, and 15 inches is going to be the under bust length. And this formula is for people with bust circumference of 40 inches and above. And for bust circumference of 36 inches and below, go ahead and add 3 inches to your bust point in order to get your under bust length. And take for instance, if your shoulder to nipple or shoulder to bust point is 10 inches, we're going to add 3 inches to that, okay? And that is going to give us 13 inches. All right, so for this person, our under bust is going to be 13 inches, okay? And right there, guys, that's how to go ahead and get your accurate measurement. All right, and I hope that this is very helpful to you. And guys, if you find it helpful, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next tutorial.